Hello and welcome to special meeting of the CDBG Advisory Committee. Is hereby called to meet at 1:30 p.m. on August 24, 2026 in the City Council chambers to consider the following items of business. To roll call, please.
Committee Member Avedisian.
Present.
Ani. Quinones Gabrielian. Vice Chair Manukian.
Present.
Chair Garibian.
Here. I think next is oral communication. Do we have anything?
Before that, just want to say that the agenda for the August 24th, 2026 special meeting of the CDBG Advisory Committee was posted on or before Friday, August 21st on the bulletin board outside of City Hall. At 2, we have oral communications, and I do not have any cards and do not have any callers.
Okay, so next is reports.
At 3, we have reports for information. Actually, Chair Garibian, would you like to continue with the agenda as is, or would you like to take out of order the selection of chair and vice chair? Up to you.
It doesn't matter to me. It's up to you guys. It doesn't matter. You guys are okay to push it up now or leave it the way it is? Speak up. Okay, let's continue the way it is.
Let's give him 5 more minutes of fame.
Okay, so at 3, we have reports for information only. At A, we have status of active CDBG capital improvement projects. And Tamar Kabanjian will provide the report.
Before we move on, in the past, Tamar comes, gives us the report, which is great, and then we ask the questions. Can we have, is it possible, if they would, my colleagues would agree, per project stop if you have questions and then go to the next project versus she goes through the entire thing and then in the end we note and then go back. Could you go back to the slides and so on and so forth? Are you guys okay with that?
Yes.
Are you guys okay with that?
Yes.
Can we do that?
Absolutely.
Can we do that?
Sure.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Great. Good afternoon, CDBG committee members and CDBG staff. Today, I will be presenting the status of our city and capital improvement projects. Throughout my PowerPoint presentation, I will be showing you the progress we are making throughout the city by using CDBG funding to build, improve, and maintain spaces that serve our community. Our goal is to ensure that the spaces we create and improve are safe, protected, and compliant with current codes and regulations as they can be safely used by the public. The city of Glendale is a jewel of our city and a team. We have the opportunity to work together to maintain and improve our city, keeping it safe, welcome, and a place our community can be proud of. Throughout CDBG funding, we are able to make meaningful improvements that are not only address current needs, but also build a stronger and a safer community for the future. With that being said, let's continue. The first 4 projects we will cover the city CIP projects. Elk Mini Park Playground project, which is construction phase 1 has been completed. Phase 2 is currently in construction. Palanconi Park renovation project, construction ready. Pacific Park natural grass project design phase. And we also have Pacific Edison artificial turf replacement project. Construction phase 1 has been completed. Phase 2 is currently in construction. The next portion is regarding the community CIP projects. Fiscal year 2026 to 2027, the agency we are working with is Armenian Society of Los Angeles for the project Armenian Society of Los Angeles Solar Project, Design City Contract Preparation Phase. With YMCA of Glendale, the project is YMCA Residents Building Plumbing and Hot Water Systems CIP project. Currently, it is Design City Contract Preparation Phase. Also, we have Kids Community Clinic of Burbank for expanded dental treatments for low-income children, Design City Contract Preparation Phase. We are also working with Verdugo Hills Council Scouting America for their Project Gate and Stairs project, Design City Contract Preparation Phase. For fiscal year 2024 to 2025, we are currently in construction phase on Home at Twin Glendale Autorat for the bathroom renovation project. Regarding Milk Mini Park Playground replacement project, the project is divided into two scopes. Phase 1 has been completed, which the scope covers equipment installation, shade structures, replacement of the existing ground surface with PVP rubberized surfacing, which is hatched in yellow. And the Phase 2, we are currently in construction, installation of a new water fountain, new benches, new tables, including chests and backman inlays, trash receptacles, bike racks, communication boards, along with improved landscape, also indicated on the site plan with the colored of the placement of the new furniture. The mini park is 13,500 square feet, neighborhood mini park built in 2003. Has not received playground improvements since it opened. Upgrades to provide to you as Phase 1 has been completed, and Phase 2, additional $57,967 was added to this project for additional site improvements, which has been ordered and will be installed fall of 2026. Here are some images for you before and after regarding Phase 1. As you can see, the equipment that needed to be replaced, as well as the surfacing with repair works needed to be done, and the final work, which is located on the bottom. Phase 1 has been completed. It is now safe, educational, accessible playground for kids to use. Next is Palanquoni Park renovation project. Here are some images of the
Mark, can we just see if they have any questions on the first Elk Mini Park? Any questions? Are you guys good with that? Sure.
Sorry, a couple of questions. I saw that there was a change order, and the total contract price was $388, and that is the $400,000 funding that we had for fiscal year 25-26, right? Because then the $57,967 is another approved site improvement.
Chair, Garibian, members of the CDBG Advisory Committee, that's a great question, Committee Member Manukian. Back in June, we had undesignated fund balance from CDBG. This was a priority project that needed to be in Phase 2 pretty quickly because it was already in construction under Phase 1. Because we had money that was going to be taken by the U.S. Treasury, we went before City Council in June to program, or I should say reprogram, that $57,000 to this project because we know that this project is going to move forward pretty quickly and be completed, I believe, in the fall. So we're almost done with this project. Apologies to the CDBG Advisory Committee. We usually bring these types of requests to you first for reprogramming, but this was something that needed to be moved quickly, and we were going to be meeting with the City Council for our annual action plan that day, and it just happened that it fell at the right time.
But, there still is a surplus, right? A little bit, like $12,000?
Correct, but they could always go back and need more funding, or that money will go back to CDBG and be reprogrammed under capital improvement again.
Thank you.
Sure.
That's from older funding. How much time do we have for that, or is it at risk right now?
It is, that's also a great question, Committee Member Quinones Gabrielian. We actually have 1 year for this funding. So this particular funding of $57,000 is going to be taken by September of 2027, so that we have a very short window of time to assign funds to projects we know are going to move forward, and this was one of them.
Okay.
So not to lose money, we wanted to assign it to this project.
And so not to lose the 12,000, we're going to...
Not to lose the $57,000.
Right, but the additional 12 that's still... available?
The 12 that's still available, this project is actually funded in different fiscal years, and this particular project, I believe, is funded also in 24, 25. So this project is safe from U.S. Treasury grab.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
Follow-up question. So in June 2026, there was a 57,967 that was approved. And whose approval this come from, and where is this money come from which funding cycle, and what specific improvements pertains to?
Committee Member Auni, to answer that question, again, it's from program year 2020, which was going to be recaptured. Therefore, staff made a quick decision to prepare a report to City Council for their immediate approval for the action plan to move forward. The City Council approved it in June, and then we were able to move forward with this project and the additional requests that came with this replacement project. Your last question was?
Specific improvements.
Oh, and Ms. Kabanjan will actually go through those specific improvements on Phase 2. And it's right there, actually. So it's installation of new water fountain, new benches, new tables, including chess and backgammon inlays, trash receptacles, bike racks, communication board, and improved landscaping around the park.
Okay.
Any other question? I have a question. On the next slide, you say you're done, the construction is done June something, right? June 26? No, I'm sorry, not the construction. The installation was completed in June 2026 to play, but it's not open yet because you're still waiting for parts?
There's one part that the vendors are waiting on.
The playground is closed
playground is
ever
closed,
since,
yeah.
hasn't been open. And you're hoping it'll open in August, or, I mean, it is August, that's what it says, right? It
We're
says
hoping in September.
September. Okay, thank you.
Okay, next project is Palanquini Park renovation project. Here are some existing images, existing rusted metal benches that needs to be replaced, existing asphalt shown with cracks, uneven conditions, and pooling of water, as well as original 1973 baseball backstop infrastructure needed of new fencing. Total available budget for this project is $100,000 through CDBG funding. Status report to use replacement of the bleachers will be completed by late August 2026. City staff is continuing to scope the fencing and asphalt work on site. It is anticipated that construction for fencing and asphalt will begin in early 2027 and be completed by fall of 2027. Here's a rendering of the site plan, as well as the locations of the new bleachers, new backstop fencing, new asphalt. Construction anticipated to start early 2027, completed by fall of 2027. Please let me know if you have any questions.
No, we're good, I guess.
Next project, Pacific Park Natural Grass Project. Here's a rendering of the site plan. Total available budget is $58,871 through CDBG funding. Project scope includes regrading, rebuilding natural turf, surface of Pacific Park ball field, new drainage plus catch basins for water, prostrating, new irrigation, expansion of center field to accommodate soccer field overlay, and new ball pens, new fencing, and outfield retaining walls as needed for new grading elevations. Status to report to you is an updated 60% drawing set was provided in April 2026, and a 90% set was provided mid-July 2026. Staff provide constructability review feedback on 90% setup, looking to receive 100% construction drawings and completion of plan check through fall of 2026. Construction is anticipated to be completed by summer 2027. Please let me know if you have any questions.
Any questions? So this project has been how many years now?
Quite a while. So the initial project plan was to replace the natural turf field with artificial turf. And then we were asked to conduct a life cycle analysis on artificial turf. So out of 5 artificial turf projects throughout the city. 2 were approved, and we were asked to keep this particular field natural grass. So we went ahead and requested for additional CDBG funds to keep the grass, to keep the field as natural grass, basically. We are working on some drainage issues, expanding the field, the fencing, and so on. So that's what the project would entail.
My report says opening spring of 2027, but Tamar just said summer of 2027. So we just got pushed 3 months from the time I got the package until we got here.
And that's okay. That's usually what Ms. Kabanjan does, Chair Garibian. Because she gets updates periodically reporting, she tries to put in what's the most updated on the PowerPoint rather than in the report, so she could report the most updated to you.
I just want to make sure we not keep delaying it. So looking forward to opening this one. Thank you.
Next project, Pacific Edison Artificial Turf Replacement Project. Here's a site plan, project location, overlay, turf demolition phase, as well as project completion. Project scope, replacement of the artificial turf field at Pacific Park Edison Elementary multipurpose field. Total available budget for this project is $1,828,171. CDBG funding in various years. Project includes improvement field drainage to address stormwater runoff issues, increasing the north fence height for safety purposes, improving seating, field access, capital raise planter with concrete along the school's fence line, new privacy screening, and new field stripping. An evaluation of the current turf system will be performed to determine the ideal solution for this field, since city opened to switch to organic infill options. Project scope of work has been updated to reflect 2 phases. Phase 1 is the turf replacement. In order to replacement it as quickly as possible, which we have completed. And phase 2 will include increasing the fence height and ADA improvements, which we are currently in construction. Status to report to you is regarding phase 1, which has been completed, and phase 2 received permit approvals on July 1, 2026, with city's Public Works Department preparing the bid documents for a fall 2026 release. Construction is anticipated to be completed by end of spring 2027. Please let me know if you have any questions.
Yeah.
Just a quick question. So the phase 2, 291,000, that's all within the 1.8 million, but the older funding of 324,000 has been applied. That's not at risk anymore.
Vice Chair Manukian, that is correct. Most of this funding has been expended. I believe we're at about $600,000 to $700,000 in expenditures for this particular project, with many more invoices coming in.
Okay.
So yes, we always work from the last program year, the earliest program year, and we work our way up to the most recent program year, so we don't risk losing funds.
Thank you.
And that's the end of the first portion. The second portion, I'll be presenting to you community agency CIP projects. The first one is Armenian Society of Los Angeles for Armenian Society of Los Angeles Solar Project. Here's the building. They are located on Louis Street. Construction was completed in 2010. Building area is 27,969 square feet. Roof area is 11,000 square feet. 3-story multipurpose community center. Program and services provided to the community are robotic classes, music classes, programs, dance classes, literature, book club. And a fun fact about this agency is they have collected 10,000 books for public to check out and use. Here's a roof drawing showing you the new location of the solar panels that will be installed. CDBG funding is $206,703. Installation of new solar PV system and associated work necessary for a complete and operational installation. Installation of 88 new solar panels on the existing roof. And of course, it requires an inspection, performance of the final system verification, requirements per city code to achieve project completion and to be used for operations. Status report to you, CDBG staff met with agency to discuss contract preparation. Agency is reviewing the city contract with their board. Project is pending a start date until completion of the required NEPA environmental review. Agency has obtained engineering drawings, which are pending, submittal to the city's permitting department for review. Per agency, I have been informed that they have submitted drawings to GWP, and it's pending for review. Upon completion of requirements, project will proceed with a competitive design bid-build bidding phase, anticipated to begin winter of 2026. Please let me know if you have any questions.
No questions. I did read these reports last night, moving forward, and I'm going to start that it's going to pertain to entire reports moving forward. If we came up with the shovel-ready issue here, that we said every project has to be shovel-ready before we designate the funds, what does that mean? Because in this particular case, which is starting moving forward, all of them have the same problem. They still haven't started the bidding. They're still applying for permits. There's still no engineering. I mean, there's nothing has been done. So which part of this was shovel-ready? Or what's the terminology of shovel-ready when we're going to move forward? Because that's the problem we had for the last 3 years of HUD. We had to go ahead and we caught up, right? And we came up with this, is it 2 years now we came up with the shovel-ready? But as of now, I don't see this project again moving forward. Every one of them will have the same problem. So how do we fix this that we will not have that problem, and what does shovel-ready really means?
Chair Garibian, members of the advisory committee, the four projects that Ms. Kabanjan is going to be presenting to you were literally approved, or I should say funding recommendations were made in late February, and then it was approved on July 1st, basically. So the start date is officially July 1st. We are now at the end of August. You are correct. Shovel-ready means that they have to be ready, but we know that when the agencies come before you, of course, they're very ambitious and they have very ambitious goals. And that's something that the committee needs to decipher when interviewing them. And we try to put that in the strengths and weaknesses analysis. All four are not shovel-ready per se,
Right.
because all four are pretty much in line to be ready, I believe, winter 2026. And even with solar panels, it's going to be even a little more difficult because you have to deal with Glendale Water and Power and all of that. And you'll see that in the presentation as Ms. Kabanjan continues. Again, when you are going to meet up in February, you're going to see this again. And yet we have to also consider we have 4 agencies who are going to be in construction. And part of the decision making that this committee made was that if these agencies are not completed with this particular project, they can't ask for more funding. So next year, when they come before you, you're going to have less agencies because these agencies will be most likely in construction. So there is somewhat of a balance there. And I'm hoping you'll see that in February of 2027.
I mean, in here, we're saying agency has obtained engineering drawings which are pending submittal to the city. They haven't even submitted to the city. And you think they're going to be done winter of 2026? We know our city is going to take them at least
Well,
6 months to respond.
They're going to begin in winter of 2026. That's the
Begin, yes.
anticipation. Yes.
So again, yes, I understand the fact that they're not going to be able to apply next year until they're done. But at the same time, we have issues on our books that we have to respond to HUD, which we got into trouble. It took us 3 years to fix that. But again, moving forward, definitely we need to be more, the way I see it, when I say shovel-ready, I really need to see the engineering done, the details are done, maybe not necessarily submitted, but at least they have gone through extensive, ready to go, ready to submit at least. If not, this could go on for a couple of more years, and just penalizing them, you can't apply again, I don't think that's good enough, because meanwhile, it's in our books, right? I mean, the way I see it.
If I may, I totally agree with Chair Arabian. the shovel-ready and the concept of shovel-ready and the projects where it's going. And from my experience for the last so many years, none of these projects, and I'm personally dealt with in the Burbank and the different projects, are very similar. Yeah, we have to literally, I think the portion of the maybe shovel-ready concept, maybe we have to rephrase it or rework the wording somehow that the understanding of the shovel-ready, I think, would be more accurate if we say the portion that the agency has to do, regardless of city funding or CDBG funding or not, if they're going through the project, they already have their plans on the process of them moving forward, finding a contractor or estimates or planning those, the portion that they are obligated to pay out of their pocket, not out of the CDBG funding. That portion should probably be something that we should ask for, that should be done before they come and ask for funding from us. I think that might be the balance or the difference that in a shovel-ready concept where it's be, because no matter what, they wait for us to give them the funding, approve the funding, and then once they got the approval, the funding, and all the time that the paperwork and everything else, the process moves forward, and 2 years down, 2 years down the road, the project still in the process of getting ready to be, in the construction. So there's nowhere that we can, put the agency in a fault that you weren't ready, you didn't do your job right, or you didn't process. And we're in the mind that, okay, where do we cut that line, and where do we give them the opportunity to ask for a different funding for a different project in the same facility? I don't know. Thank you.
I also agree, but I think that we should also take a more active role in this when they come before us, because all of the applications have an estimate, right? So presumably they've gone to a contractor, and some projects don't need construction plans. Some projects, it's basically, replacement of roof, for example. They don't need construction plans, but they go to a contractor, get an estimate. Some do. So we would have to press them when they're before us to ask about whether they've gone. I remember this particular agency, and I remember looking at their estimate, and I did not see a contractor's name on it. And I inquired, all the other agencies had contractor's name on their estimates. This one did not. And it was the engineer who had done the estimating. And maybe we should have pressed harder at that point.
So that's why it comes up with maybe at the time of submittal, maybe we should rewrite shovel-ready for them to know if they come here, not necessarily will translate that. So they need to be really ready. How we're going to rewrite that, I don't know. So it will not be too much of an open-ended disclosure, but somehow that we can get the message to them that when you do come up, because case by case, as you said, it could be different. Some cases needs more work, some don't. I know a few years ago we came up that the roof certification for shoulders, it's a mandatory, right? But in here I see evaluation of the roof structure capacity, including weight load and stability. This should have come way before they submitted it, right? I mean, again, I think we should reward this for the agencies to know when you do come here, you have to be more than ready. Now, how are we going to rephrase that? I don't know.
I know. Yes, I think the concept of shovel-ready is right on. I think there's so many variables, and I think Ms. Manukian, I agree with us making sure that we have the input or ask the hard questions so that we can maybe rate how ready are these competing projects that require our funding. But even if they had a contractor who created the estimate, it's against the law to give them the contract, isn't it?
Right. Yeah.
So they have to start over again, right? They have to go back and get new bids. So it's difficult. If you could explain that.
My point in that was that if you get a contractor to give an estimate, there's going to be at least plans, or that estimate is based on going on site and measurements, something. But when
Yes.
you don't even have that, because I think all of them do, even if, obviously, they're not going to give it to that contractor without the bidding process. But having gone through the process of giving an accurate estimate, it brings into it accurate plans or accurate measurements, some data based on which the estimate is made.
Yeah,
in
I
their
think
case-
so.
I think their case was the engineer, right? That who wrote the estimate and said.
Right,
what
so
the
they were
cost-
not even that ready. So no, I agree with you. I think it comes down to us rating each of those competing requests for us to say, well, we think based on, and we're going to have to agree on, based on all these criteria, we're going to rate them either a 1, a 2, a 3, or what, however we rate them, so that that can be a part of saying,
long as
this
they're
is priority, this is not priority. But I do agree with what Ms. Kavarian said, that it's going to take a while to implement these policies, right? So that we can see 2-3 years from now, this organizations and the agencies that are going to be in construction, and therefore we're always short of money, right? And it's like, it's going to be easy. They disqualify themselves. They, it's like, it'll be easier because, well, these folks have finally completed their project, and now they have something else to request. Whereas these other organizations are in the middle of their project, and according to the new policy, they cannot apply. So it's going to take, I think, a little bit of time, but it's all not clear cut, but
Chair
it's a good
Garabedian,
concept.
I have an inquiry to the staff as well. It says here that CDBG staff met with the agency to discuss the contract. I'm curious, how involved is our staff with the preparation of these proposals to the city's department, right? And if in the event, and the timeline as well, I think it's very critical. I think our staff had set a timeline on when to submit all this and met. So in the event that they don't meet the requirements, what happened then?
That's a great
And
question.
more importantly, how have we awarded them already the $200,000 plus that we've? Okay, so that is my biggest question.
So committee member Auni, that's a great question. On July 1st, Ms. Kabanjian reaches out to all those agencies that were awarded funding. We've submitted our action plan. It's official. Everything's ready to go. And the calls are made. And I mean, this is a lot of information for 2 months. And she starts the process of meeting with them to see where they're at in their project. I don't want to bring up too much of this capacity, but you have to understand that these nonprofits have capacity issues. They're not big corporations, they're nonprofits, usually led by volunteer efforts, not so much a staff person per se. And those are the things we work with as staff. We understand it, and we do a lot of hand-holding. I mean, there is a lot of staff support from the city to make sure that they're successful, because if they're successful, we're successful, and we continue to receive our allocation. There will be we're going to be having a report later on this afternoon, and you are going to see some improvement in the forecast, and you'll get to see a lot of the efforts that were made by the committee kind of come to fruition. So I'll save that for that report. But yes, all 4 of these agencies are definitely not shovel-ready as the definition that we all know is what is shovel-ready. But then I'll have Ms. Kabanjian continue, so you get to see where they all are in the process. They're really on equal footing, so there isn't one standout agency that probably deserved more money. They're all very good agencies, good projects. It's just they're meeting challenges, and we understand that as staff.
When I opened up this, as I said, it's moving forward for all the projects. I didn't just pick on them because I read all of them and I noticed they all have the same problem. But again, it's something moving forward, the future. The description of shovel ready, we need to be more exact. And as my colleague said, when you do come here and we're going to start getting more into details, at least they'll know that they could face that because we have provided them the description that you need to be, this is what shovel-ready means, versus they come here and get disappointed if we don't give them any fundings. That's what I'm trying to say. We should have more of a detailed description of what shovel-ready means for them before they come here.
And to be truthful with you, Chair Garibian, we have a CDBG open house in September. We kind of drill that into them. And then we meet again in December when they're ready for the request for proposal process. And then again, we drill it into them. I think it's the excitement. And then there's also the other part where, again, nonprofits don't have the kind of funding resources that, say, a city does. And when they do get funded, that's when they start moving forward. Sometimes they just don't have the leverage necessary to move forward with even pre-construction until they know that they've secured the construction money. Yeah.
Chair Arabian, members of the committee, I think this is probably going to be a really good discussion at the next meeting when we bring the RFP packet. And staff will do our best to put some guidelines in there. But I think it would be really helpful for the committee to have a discussion at that meeting and come to a consensus on what you as a body look to see is shovel-ready. So from our perspective, I think, Maggie, please correct me if I'm wrong, but from CDBG's perspective, they just can't go out to bid because there are CDBG requirements that needs to be included in the bid docs. So if we were to put out stipulations that says, you are ready basically to go out to bid, and that's the point you should be applying for, and Maggie shaking her head, so like it might not be at that point, but close enough to that point where you have all the requirements done. Now, what those requirements are, Maggie, Tamar, and I will work with, internally to see if we can come up with some suggestions. But I think at the next meeting, if we want to clarify it even further so that it is clear, like you suggested, for the community agencies, at what point should you be? But it is really important for you to consider that and question that during the interviews as well, because staff will put it in the weaknesses if we see that they're not as shovel-ready as they should be. But at the end of the day, the committee gets to decide. So I think it's important to keep that in mind. And I agree with you, reading some of this, and those are some of the questions that came up in my mind as well, is, wait, the roof hasn't been evaluated in that particular, in this particular project. But there are certain things that I think should be done in advance of applying for the grants. And I think that the project should be projects that are going to get done regardless of the CDBG funding, in the sense that they're going to start planning for it. Yes, they need the assistance, but they shouldn't be projects that, could wait, right? Because a lot of them will come and say that, oh, it's a safety issue, or, it's a health issue. And so these are projects that are going to need to be done regardless. And so the planning process, at least to get to that point where you now need the funding to construct, is where they should be. So regardless of whether they get funded for CDBG or not, they're going to have to find that funding elsewhere. This is just going to assist them with whatever we're able to assist them. So I think this is a really good conversation for us to have at the next meeting. And it's something we were going to do ourselves to bring it back. So it's interesting that you also had that observation and brought it up. But that is a good point, and that we should clarify as part of the RFP even further, if it's not clear now, as to what shovel-ready should be. So we'll definitely work towards that for the next RFP.
Thank you.
Okay, next project, YMCA of Glendale, for YMCA Residents Building Plumbing and Hot Water System CIP project. This building was constructed in 1922, designated as a historical landmark. Building area is 41,337 square feet, 4-story building. The programs provided to the community are emergency housing, shelter, permanent supportive, housing support, transitional housing. The image to the right is actually original blueprint of the floor plan of the drawing that was first in construction. And I do want to mention, even though the agency does have a blueprint of the original construction, the agency does need to prepare a new set of drawings to submit to the permitting department, because based on current condition of the walls and placement of the components is not it's not aligned with the original blueprint. So they are in preparation of a new set of drawings. I really want to show through the image here for you that this project is in a critical condition that we need to work on. Existing boiler room contains aging mechanical equipment and exposed MEP systems. Piping and equipment show visible corrosion, rust, and general wear and tear. Pipe insulation is aged and deteriorated in areas. Concrete floor and wall surface show staining of water damage. Room is congested with exposed piping, electrical components, and equipment. Requires evaluation for code compliance, accessibility, ventilation, and system condition. And in one area, the agency is using it for storage area, but they will be cleaning it up for the new. CDBG funded for this project $60,000. Again, the project scope includes targeted rehabilitation and modernization of the building's plumbing and domestic hot water distribution systems, with the primary goal to address existing failures, mitigate future risks associated with aging materials, ensure code compliance, improve energy efficiency, particularly in hot and water production, remove and replace of hot and cold water copper pipe and install new water backflow device, replace galvanized water piping and hydraulic heating system, replace valves and cast iron on building sewer system, replace vent pipes and remove and install from carriers to vertical pipes through the roof, remove and install new unit, provide and install new 400,000 BTU boiler, install new pump, patch and repair as needed to complete the project. Status report to CDBG staff met with the agency to discuss on the city contract preparation. Agency has actually awarded a design. Again, I apologize. The agency informed me after I submitted this PowerPoint. The agency has informed me that they have awarded a designer to prepare the new set of drawings. And in my communication with the design firm, they have informed me they will submit the drawings to the city in October. So again, the building is historical structure built in 1922. Therefore, the project needs to be approved through SHPO review and NEPA environmental requirements. CDBG contract will be finalized upon completion and approval from the environmental review. Project is anticipated to proceed into the competitive design bid build bidding phase, winter 2027. Please let me know if you have any questions.
Any questions? This is one of the agencies that they have the experience, obviously, from the past. But even with that experience, as you can see, the time frame and, of course, the type of the building, whether we like it or not, 100 years old, have to go through those agencies to get those, and those are time-consuming. But at least it's an experienced agency. It's a smaller project, but nevertheless, the small and experienced, we're looking at a year until we do this. So thank you. Let's move on.
The next agency we are currently working with is Kids Community Clinic of Burbank for project expanded dental treatments for low-income children. Existing building constructed in 1978. Building area is 3,200 square feet. Previously, the building was used as a business office space to be converted into nonprofit dental clinic serving low-income and special needs children. Here are some drawings for you to see. The middle drawing is a site plan, as well as a floor plan on the right, indicating the areas of the dental care and requirements of the health. This is a new preparation of the drawings that agency's architect has prepared. CDBG funded for this project $651,703. Agency's project consists of the complete renovation of an existing office building to convert into fully operational dental clinic serving low-income children and families. And then, as typical, the facility needs to meet ADA accessibility upgrades, site improvements, replacement of the roofing system, installation of new doors, windows, finishes, cabinets and signage, construction of ADA compliant restrooms, and installation of new plumbing, mechanical HVAC, electrical, fire alarm, and fire protection systems, as well as the exterior work, which is the parking lot improvements, utility upgrades, landscape restoration, project closeout. Testing is included, commissioning, and all work necessary to meet current building health, safety, and accessibility codes. The renovated facility will provide a modern code-compliant dental clinic capable of delivering comprehensive dental service to underserved families. A status report to you, CDBG staff met with the agency and are working on city contract preparation. Agency has submitted the drawings for the third time to the city. They have received some red marks, and their architect needed to revise the drawings and resubmit. So currently we are in waiting phase for a final approval. CDBG staff submitted the drawings for NEPA environmental review requirements, therefore that is pending. Staff anticipates contract execution by fall of 2026. Agency will then enter into bidding phase and eventually construction anticipated to begin in late fall 2026. Due to the project's exterior and interior scope of work, construction will be completed in phases. Phase 1 will focus on the exterior improvements. Phase 2 will address the interior improvements to the building. And this is the most ready agency with their drawings and pending on the approval of the city. Please let me know if you have any questions.
Do we have these phases? When they submitted, they didn't, right? It was one project. It was not broken down into phases originally.
Communicating with the agency, we decided to split into phases because we anticipate weather changes, conditions, and all that. So we decided to do phase 1 and phase 2. Depending if it's rain season, then we'll start with the interior work, phase 2, and we'll move outward. But then if the condition is good, then we'll start with the exterior repair and move inside.
Well, I like phases. It makes it so much easier, so that's good. Thank you.
And I have images for you on the current office space that we are renovating, as well as the agencies that submit exterior rendering. Building is ready for demo and renovation with the rendering above illustrating the proposal exterior coloring and the details of the signage. Please let me know if you have any questions.
I have a question.
Sure.
This is one of those, a big project that we awarded to, right? Do they have a timeline on when to open to public for, services? I know that the fall or winter of 2026, that's the anticipated construction, but in their proposal, that they have anticipated when to open to public?
Committee Member Auni, at this time they do not, but they do have a mobile clinic. So they their program is very unique because they have a separate clinic in Burbank, and this is the one that they're going to open, and this will be their main clinic. They also have a mobile clinic that goes to the schools as well. So they're focusing on the mobile clinic as well as the one in Burbank until they do the transfer to this particular location when it's completed. They also have many funding sources, so they are on target to complete, probably this might be one of the fastest moving projects for Ms. Kabanjan because they're very motivated. They've been here with us last year, they didn't get funded, and then they received funding this year. So they're really motivated because they have multiple funding sources as well through federal and state funds. So you will see some really good progress with this particular project.
Okay. The next agency we are currently working with is Vertigo Hills Council Scouting America for the Project Gate and Stairs project. The existing building was constructed in 1947. Building space is 4,372 square feet. The programs provided to the community are Boy Scouts programs with sports, Boy Scouts meetings and gatherings, including outdoor programs. CDBG funded for this project $206,703. Agency will make facility improvements focused on safety, accessibility, security, and site improvements, renovation of the rear exterior stairs, including new concrete threads, code-compliant guardrails, balustrades, and handrails, as well as ADA-compliant handrail extension and a new concrete landing. Construction of a new 6-foot-high CMU block perimeter wall along the rear and south property line with appropriate reinforcement and drainage considerations. Security improvements will include new exterior lighting and 2 manually operated steel security gates, including a man door, locking hardware, and a fire department lock box. Existing site drainage, driveway access, and the fire egress route will be maintained. A decorative lockable steel enclosure will be installed to protect the building's exterior water line, shut-off valve, backflow preventer, and related utility equipments. Status report to CDBG staff met with the agency for contract preparation and environmental review process. Agency's architect has completed approximately 90% of the project drawings. They actually have informed me, again, after this PowerPoint was submitted, the agency has informed me their architect has a scheduled deadline to submit drawings this week. Remaining work includes preparation of the required projects, specifications for submission to the permitting department. Agency has completed a building evaluation and identified termite activity within the building. Therefore, some of these items are delayed. Agency is in the process of retaining a qualified consultant to conduct additional testing to determine the extent of the termite damage. The agency is also waiting on their neighbor because the property next door is currently in escrow. So it is also delayed on our CDBG because in order for them to run the termite testing, it is a joint wall between their property and the neighbor. So by the time the escrow is completed, paperwork is guaranteed submitted, they cannot really move the termite testing forward. So we are currently waiting for agency to inform us. Agency has also reported building damage resulting from an unrelated accident that occurred in January 2026. Accident damage is located at the front of the building and does not impact the CDBG-funded improvements which are located at the rear of the building. Project is anticipated to be ready to enter the bidding phase fall of 2026, provided that the termite investigation has been completed, and project schedule to finally start with the bidding phase moving forward. Project schedule may be delayed depending on any other upcoming situations with this building.
Thank you.
Question.
I'm sure there's a lot
And I
of
have one more slide, sorry. And then, so I have some images for you just to show you that this is a very critical project because it is very unsafe for kids to use. It is non-code compliance condition, unsafe guardrail gaps, cracked concrete stair threads, water damage to existing stair framing, non-functional exterior electrical system, creating unsafe conditions for programs scheduled after hours, unsafe property separation gate, creating security and privacy concerns with neighboring properties. The 2 drawings I have for you are the new first floor plan, as well as the new second floor area. Hatch and yellow are the areas for our CDBG scope of work to repair the stairs. Please let me know if you have any questions.
So this,
Question, yeah, if I hear it correctly or I misheard, you said part of the construction because of the joint wall, they're holding the bidding or something, that portion that because of the neighbors being in escrow, I didn't understand it correctly.
Just to clarify, CDBG is separate. There was an investigation that there was termites found on the existing building. However, it does interfere with the neighbor who is currently in escrow. So they can't really move forward with the termites until the neighbor is done with their escrow. They have an agreement with another agency to deal with the termites, and then we can start with the CDBG project. Our CDBG project is not affected. It is only affected through timing, construction timing, bidding timing. But it has nothing to do with our
So the neighbor's building has a termite issue, correct?
No, the joint wall, which is a
Oh, the
CMU.
joint wall has, okay,
Yeah,
sorry.
It is a
Okay.
CMU material wall that separates their actual building and the neighbor. And the CMU, there's a termite there. Areas that the stairs are also connected. So they want to deal with the termite before starting with the CDBG. So it is a construction delay on our end, but we have nothing to do with the investigation on that wall.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Chair, I have a clarification. Can you move to the first page of this project?
This one?
Yes, it says here the address is in Burbank, so I just want to make sure we clarify that. Because obviously this is in Glendale,
what?
and for the benefit of our public viewers.
It's actually a typo. That's a very good catch, Committee Member Auni. That is a typo.
Thank you.
I apologize, it's my fault.
Glendale Avenue. Any other questions?
Oh, yeah, I didn't even.
Yeah, the termite, obviously, we don't know how long it would take. It's not our fault. There's nothing we can do. So it just so happened that, but next door neighbor joining walls, they don't drill through, but whatever, we're not gonna get involved. Thank you, let's go.
Okay. So currently, we are in construction with Homeland Glendale Autorad for a project called Bathroom Renovation Project. The existing building constructed in 1960, building space is 65,000 square feet with 35,000 square feet of facility space, serving 2,600 members annually. Facility used for basketball, volleyball, indoor soccer, gymnastics, martial arts, and table tennis. Here are drawings of the two bathroom areas hatched for you. Area 1 and Area 2. CDBG funded for this project $433,540. Project scope is renovation of the 6 existing restrooms, which are in critical condition, full demo of the floors, interior walls, partitions, plumbing fixtures, and accessories. Complete plumbing replacement, underground connections to main drain, camera inspection, new hot and cold water lines, roof and finish plumbing, new framing, sound insulation and replacement drywall, electrical upgrades including new wiring, GFCI outlets, and light switches, mechanical improvements with new ductwork and exhaust fans in all restrooms, new tile flooring with cove base of 4 feet wall tile throughout, door replacements and adjusted door swings for ADA compliant, patch, paint, and finish all new drywall ceilings and doors. Project status report to you is we have completed 80% of the construction. CDBG staff is currently working with agents to review and process incoming project invoices. Per general contractor's timeline, punch walk is scheduled for the end of October 2026. Final inspection is pending and is anticipated to be completed in early November 2026. Project is anticipated to be completed in late November 2026.
Like, no,
As usual, I like to show images before and after. So here are the two areas. As you can see, the bathrooms are in critical condition. Existing door, threshold damaged, temporary carpet to cover broken tiles, water damages, bathrooms does not comply with ADA requirements, and we have the same critical condition on Area 2 bathrooms. Currently, we have completed the plumbing, concrete flooring, the framing, and we also needed to add sprinklers to the restrooms, so we are completed with that. Moving forward, general contractors to bring in their staff to complete the tile work, as well as the bathroom accessories, and any other requirements per code compliance to complete this construction. Please let me know if you have any questions.
Questions? Can we go over these dates? I mean, we started 2022, is that correct, as far as the funding? So how did it go from, it's a one project, right?
It's Chair Garibian, members of the advisory committee. The 2022 date is the actual program year funding. It's not necessarily when the project was
23.
funded, but it's, right, that is correct, in 2023.
That's what I'm trying to say. 23, we had 22,000, and then 24, 200. So the funding amount we keep adding, is it for the same project without starting? We keep adding? Can you explain that so we can have it on
Sure.
record?
So if you take a look at the report where it says 2022, 2023 funding, so anytime there's undesignated fund balance, we take that funding and we apply it to a project. That way, we know that we're spending down all our funds in that program year. So that's why you're going to see $22,377, and then the following year, you're going to see $235,000, and then the following year, you're going to see $175,000. So if you add it up, yes, they received $433,000, but they received it in different program years because we knew this project was going to move forward quickly because they were actually shovel ready.
Right, so the project was submitted to us in 22, 23.
I apologize, it was not. It was submitted to the committee in 24-25.
Right, that's what I'm trying to get at. So
But you're using old program year
funding,
money
right.
to assign money to it.
so their first submission was 23, 24. No, I'm sorry, 24, 25.
Correct.
That's when, then we moved whatever we had left over from the previous year.
Exactly.
And that's what I'm trying to just clarify this, how the numbers work, because we don't want to say they started the project in 22,
did not.
23, and they're just finishing now, and that's forever. So
That
they
is
started at 2025, so, all right. So that's also brings up an experienced agency that we can see the speed they're going through, and if you look at the status update, there's not much there. So, it's good to, we can sometimes maybe put the agencies together and start comparing notes, how they can help each other from experienced ones to new
That's
ones.
a wonderful suggestion, and that's something we do. We do ask really competent construction companies who want to bid. We know we've worked with them in the past, and we basically share them amongst our community agencies, and it has seemed to work out really well for us.
Thank you.
Any questions? Okay, thank you.
No, no, you guys want to take, is this a good time we can take a break, or? Yeah. Shall we take a 5 minutes break, so we can continue on? All right. We're on break, we'll be back at 2:37.
And we're back.
Okay, so we're back. I think the next item on the agenda.
At 3B, we have year-end performance report for fiscal year 25-26 public social service programs.
Chair Garibian, members of the advisory committee, we have the public social services project status for year-end of 25-26. I will say this was a very challenging year, both for the city and for the agencies. We started a little later than we normally begin, and that was due to some federal administration requirements and language, and contracts were pushed back a little bit until we evaluated the terminology and the language in those contracts. And we allowed for our agencies to basically start reporting in mid-year. And so you'll see a little bit of that, and I'll go through each one and I'll give you an explanation of what has occurred. So I'll go ahead and just get right into it with Catholic Charities of Los Angeles. This is the Loaves and Fishes program. Loaves and Fishes program, they basically had 100% expenditure in their funds that were awarded. They were supposed to serve 38 households. They were able to serve 52 households. They had two outcomes. The first outcome is their goal was 38, and they were able to serve 52, which was rental assistance and food pantry, utility assistance within 3 months of entering the program. That was a pretty good accomplishment of 137%. For outcome number 2, they were able to really overachieve this goal. They had 40 households that are served by the program, and 12 were going to maintain an active link to auxiliary services. Their goal was 12, and they were able to serve 52 with this. 433% accomplishment. They're a long-standing, long-running agency with CDBG. Next, we have Glendale Youth Alliance. This is the youth employment program. They were proposed to serve 12 youth. They served 15. They expended all of their funding. Their first outcome was to have 11 youth earn income by working a minimum of 100 hours by the end of this fiscal year. And they were able to achieve it by 1 additional youth, and that was 109% accomplishment. For outcome number 2, 100% were able to be employed by the program, and they were provided intensive case management. Now, 4 were referred to community agencies based on need for additional resources. They also provide a lot of services. A lot of these youth are usually homeless, and they were able to get all 4 of these youth into these programs. So this is quite an accomplishment for the Glendale Youth Alliance. Next, we have Home Again Los Angeles. Home Again LA proposed to serve 30 households. They were actually exceeding by serving 53 households. They were awarded $15,000, which they expended 100% of that. Outcome number 1, they accomplished 110%. They had 30 unduplicated households served by the program, and they stated that 20 would be enrolled into crisis housing within the first 30 days, and they achieved that goal, of course. Outcome number 2, of the 30 unduplicated households served by the program, 22 were going to be linked to housing programs that resulted in the procurement of permanent housing, which is really important. And their goal was 22, and they were able to provide that service to 50 households. So that's 227% accomplishment. Next, we have Door of Hope. This is Domestic Violence, Mental Health, and Case Management Program. They proposed to serve 32 participants. In actuality, they served 27. Their funds awarded were $10,529, and they expended all their funding. Outcome number 1, they were supposed to serve 32 adults, children, and teens, and of those, 24 would report improved mental health as directed by decreased anxiety and depression, and they have an assessment process of doing this because they have LCSWs that work with them. They accomplished 88%, and the goal was 24. They served 21. For outcome number 2, These are the parents, the mothers that work, that live on the site. Of the 22 adults served by the program, 16 would increase their income or savings measured by case managers on a quarterly basis. Their goal was 16 moms, and they served 14. So this is an 88% accomplishment. I do want to preface the reason why they didn't meet a 100% goal. This is an undisclosed area that they live in. They're currently working with the housing division to upgrade these units. They have 13 units currently. They're moving to upgrade up to 24 units. And once they do that, they're going to be able to accept more participants. And unfortunately, because they were renovating these units, they couldn't meet the 100% goal because those units were not habitable at that time. So that's mainly the reason why they couldn't meet the 100% goal that they had in the past. Any questions on that? So I know you would like us to stop every time, but I will be more than happy to.
Just a quick question or not. As you mentioned that they didn't meet the 100%, but however, once the construction is done and rooms are ready, they're just by looking at their and knowing their history, they will not just meet the 100%. I think they will go way over the 100%. And I see all the other nonprofits. There's so much need and so much that they're doing overall.
Correct.
It's great. I mean,
And
I'm just
committee
happy
member,
for that.
that's correct, committee member Avedisian. Once they complete their construction, their goals will change because they're going to have 26 units, for instance. So once those units are created and are habitable, we're going to increase the participants by probably 42, 50. It depends on what their numbers are going to look like at that time. So you'll see a very big difference in Door of Hope in the coming 2 years ahead. Yeah.
I also want to comment that the percentage of accomplished outcomes is still based on the original number had they served 32. So if you, and for example, the outcome one is 75% of the 32 adults, children, and teens served, right? But if you calculate that for the 27,
Right.
they're probably meeting their numbers or very close to it.
Well, because they didn't meet the goal of the decreased anxiety and all of that. I think that's the thing. So the 24 were supposed to report improved mental health status. So 21 reported it.
I know,
right?
but if you take, so the starting number is 32.
Correct.
And it says 75% of 32, which is 24, will see improvement. But if you take 75% of 27, which is the number that they served, which is 20, I think,
Right.
They've met their accomplishments of 21, meaning that whoever they served, 75% did get improvement.
That is true.
And the same goes for outcome two. If you take the number that they actually served and take 73% of outcome two, they probably met their numbers.
I have a follow-up question. So in that way, how much percentage or threshold we're looking at as per original proposal?
Well, we'd like 100%.
Okay.
Yeah, we would like 100%. And that's really why we're delving into this, and we actually included it in the report. So you would see, it's very rare that our agencies not meet their goals and outcomes, and we want to show that to the committee because this is the tool you'll be using in February, again, to make those decisions, those hard decisions that you make every February, especially to public social services.
Yeah, that's the reason I'm asking it, because the next time we make that decision, we can have a standard and guidelines on how to, accurately measure success. Thank you.
Are you looking for the lower number, the minimum, that threshold? I think there is no minimum.
Committee Member Ani, members of the committee, Chair Caribbean, I think that's a very good point because this is, I think, the first time we as staff have seen the agencies not meeting their goals. And so I think, again, as part of the next RFP, I think this is something that the committee should discuss. and maybe come up with a criteria as well, whether that's 1 year you don't meet your goal or 2 years you don't meet your goal, that impacts, your rating for future applications. Because this was the first year that we as staff noticed that more than one, for example, or any haven't really met their goals. And so that's something that I think we wanted to bring up at this meeting, which is why we called it out in the report for us to talk about and think about what do we want to put as criteria for future RFPs, because although, you do need to consider this as part of the next cycle, unfortunately, you already funded some of these agencies for the current year, right? So I think there's multiple ways to handle it. We of course, report on these agencies and the numbers quarterly. So for the current year, fiscal year 26-27, staff will bring a report at the next meeting giving you first quarter updates for that year. So if we, if you want, we can always invite these agencies who didn't meet their goal for the year back to the meeting at that quarterly, reporting for you to ask them and for them to speak on some of those reasons and whether they think and feel comfortable that they'll be able to meet the goals. It's hard for staff to tell for all agencies at first quarter or even second quarter, because some of the programs are based on third or fourth quarter reports. So, you won't be able to see the progress, right? For some of these people that they're serving, you won't be able to see their progress or measure it until third or fourth quarter. So it's really hard to tell at first and second quarter for staff on whether the same agency will have the same problem in not meeting those goals or they will be able to meet it. So I think we do need to establish some guidelines that speak to more than 1 year of not meeting your goal. Will impact your application, whether that's you're not eligible or whether that's, you get a lower score in that criteria. These are things that I think we fortunately haven't had to think through and haven't seen, but this was the first year that we as staff also noticed that. So I think this is a good time for us to have that conversation as part of this report. And then if you've got any direction you'd like us to take for the next RFP cycle, we'll definitely incorporate that into the next RFP cycle. And if you'd like to invite the agencies back to speak on that, we're happy to invite them back as well, so you can directly ask the agencies. So these are all things that we also as staff noticed, and we will be circling back with the committee for the next RFP cycle.
If I may? I think that's a great idea. I think we should understand their issues. If we invite those agencies that they are reporting lower numbers, and maybe there are logical reasonings why they're missing the numbers or whatever the case may be, I think that would be a great idea, at least for us to understand them better internally, how their work status and how they work, and their clients, who they serve. Plus, I think in the future down the road, and the suggestion that we should have some sort of a number like we have on the CIPs, shovel-ready concept, something in that aspect. That's what are their numbers? Are they very aggressive numbers they're putting in just to make us look good on the project when they come forward and asking for funding, or the realistic numbers? Maybe they should keep it on the lower to be more realistic and more doable. So I think that would be something that we should probably revisit that and have a conversation with them. I would suggest to do that.
Thank you. I think I agree with my colleagues, and so let me not repeat that part, but I do want to say it's a matter of having them be aware of what the plans are for the entire organization. For example, the remodeling that was going on, correct? And the fact that they would not have been able to serve 32 because the rooms weren't there. And so it could be that they overshot their goal, because if you look at 32 divided by 10,000, I mean, they were asking for 320 per. And it just seemed like such a small amount with the amount of therapy, dedicated therapists that come to their door of hope for the children, for the parents, and everything else, it seems like it seems very acceptable. The 88%. It's not 100%, but it's still within an acceptable range. But if we could stress to them that they need to look at the overall organization's plan, annual plan of action while they make their goal, their requests for funding.
If I can add something to that, also for us as a committee and the staff as well, it's sort of a guidelines on how we can really effectively run the system, because there's a system here. However, also, if they're not meeting the target, we have limited fundings, and we want to share that within different organizations that somehow can't participate because there's not enough funding, and we provide it to other agencies that's already historically been funded. So that's my thing about it, and thank you for the opportunity that we can discuss this, because I think there's a need for us to be effective as committee members, and also how we can really implement a program that the money is not ours, but again, it's there, but we have to be accountable with all the dollars. Thank you.
Absolutely. And that is a great point. Committee Member Quinones Gabrielian and seconded by Ani, is that, some of the reasons why the agency would explain in this case, for example, it's an understandable reason, right? That they were under construction and couldn't bring in the families to be able to serve those numbers. And so this isn't something that we would expect to see in future years. And so those are really good points. And that's all it is that the agency should be able to justify or explain, why in that particular year. It's not to say that they should be dinged just because they didn't meet their goal in 1 year. But again, that threshold that you speak to, I think it would be good to set that threshold so that the agencies also understand, 2 years or 3 years of not meeting your goal within whatever that threshold is that you want to set, 80%, 75%, whatever that might be. Again, these are great conversations for you to think about and for us to incorporate into the next RFP. But also keep in mind, as you hear the rest of the report, whether you'd like to hear from some of these agencies in person at the next meeting, because some of the agencies are currently funded for the current year. So I think it's fair for us to want them to be here to explain, if you weren't able to meet your goal last year, how do we know you will meet it for next year? And, the year has just started. So this is a good point for us to have those conversations maybe at the next meeting. So as Ms. Kavarian continues the report, keep that in mind.
Well, just to credit to Door of Hope, obviously when I pass by, I see the construction there. It's very exciting for me. I know that place needed major construction. It was due for years. First things, I'm not sure if they relocate everyone from there while they're in construction. I'm not sure if that's something. And also, let's not forget this particular project, which is the mental health and case management. It's a smaller project of their entire project, what Door of Hope does, which is the domestic violence. And not necessarily, sometimes the agency, a department of them not necessarily could accomplish the goal, but as a whole. So we should definitely not to crucify an agency because 1 year, as you said, or one area of their project instead of as a whole, as an agency. Because as I said, mental health is a smaller portion of their entire project that they do. So yes, definitely we should discuss this moving forward, but at the same time, we should look at what project is it? Is it their main project or it's a subsidiary of a smaller projects? And if it's something, is it construction-based and so on and so forth? So thank you.
And Chair Garibian, members of the advisory committee, just as a kind of an FYI for Door of Hope, they also have a Pasadena shelter. So a lot of those families are at the Pasadena shelter while the Glendale undisclosed shelter is basically being revamped. The next agency is Housing Rights Center. This is the Glendale Fair Housing Program. This is funded both by CDBG and our housing division. They always propose to serve about 275. This year, they were only able to serve 172 households. They did expend all $10,000 of their funds. They did meet their first outcome, which is to provide 2 workshops. They provide a fall and a spring workshop, one for tenants, one for landlords. They met that goal. And the second outcome is filing a minimum of 7 fair housing complaints by Glendale residents and a minimum of 3 fair housing cases that are actually opened for investigation. So they were able to meet those 2 outcomes. Now, for proposed number to be served, they are asking for more city support in getting the word out to Glendale residents. This is done through both CDBG and the Housing Division. Now, Housing Rights Center for years was meeting and exceeding those goals, especially during the COVID pandemic years because of the housing mandate, the mandates on rent control and all of that. And they were meeting numbers up to 350 households a year. That number has dwindled down, and it is a good conversation to have this particular year during their contract season. So this is something that we're going to discuss with them to see if this is kind of tapering off. Maybe we should reduce the proposed number to be served, because the 350 or the 275 where we're at now is just not holding. Next, we have the Armenian Relief Society of Western USA, Inc. Their proposed number to be served was 200. They actually served 202 individuals. Outcome number 1 was to provide ESL classes to 90, well, there's 90 seniors, and the goal is 81 would demonstrate improved English language competency. They met this and exceeded it at 114% accomplishment. Outcome number 2, of the 35 individuals who receive employment services, 21 would secure employment within 3 months. Again, they had 27 that were able to secure employment, and the goal was 21, so they had 129% accomplishment. Now, for funds awarded, they were awarded $64,529. However, they were able to only expend 90% of their funds, which means they left about $6,500 on the table. That $6,500 goes back to CDBG, and it also goes back to the capital improvement projects. But remember, we have to consider this because the public social services funding is very competitive, so we want to be able to, we could have used that for another public social services project within that fiscal year. Of course, now we can't do that, but it'll still stay in CDBG, it'll go to CIP. One of the reasonings was they had a lot of staff turnover, especially in the finance department. And then there was a lot of back and forth with invoicing, and that's really one of the main reasons that this agency, this is one of the first years they weren't able to expend all their funds due to the staff turnover that they had and the experience they had with that. And they worked until the, I call it the bitter end, to get those invoices in, and they did. And unfortunately, we just left $6,500 there. Next, we have Committee for Armenian Students in Public Schools, better known as CASPS. They proposed to serve 44 students. They actually serve 42 students, which is about 95%. Funds awarded was $34,529. They expended 100% of their funds. Outcome 1, 35 of those students would show significantly reduced incidence of aggressive behavior by the end of the year, and they have a pre and post test that measures that. They had 160% accomplishment, 106% accomplishment, apologies. And then for outcome number 2, of the 44 students at the 2 sites, 35 would show significant improvement in following directions, academic responsibility, and they have a psychologist on site that takes notes and provides progress for these students. And again, they had 106% accomplishment. Now, for the number proposed and the number actually served, they had additional students. They had 3 additional students that were referred to them, but unfortunately, these students required a higher level of care. This is not an IEP program. This is just kids who are pulled out that need a little extra support. And those 3 students that were pulled out needed a bit additional support, which most likely was going to go into the IEP realm. So. Next, we have YWCA of Glendale and Pasadena. This is Mental Health Services for Survivors of Domestic Violence. They proposed to serve 14 participants. They actually served 17. They were awarded a little over $20,000, which 100% was expended. Outcome 1, of the 14 women served by this program, 7 would complete these 10 individual counseling sessions by the end of the fiscal year. They were able to serve 11. The goal was 7, so they accomplished 157% of their goal. Outcome number 2, of the 14 women served by the program, 7 would complete a 12-week support group. Again, by the end of that fiscal year, their goal was 7. They were able to serve 10, and that's 143% accomplishment. Armenian Bar Association, this is the pro bono clinical legal services. This is done at our city's adult recreation center. Proposed number to be served were 25 individuals. They actually served 28 individuals. And funds that were awarded is a little over $20,500, 71% expenditure. Now, this number is a little deceiving because they still have invoices that are pending. It will go to the 100% range, but what we wanted to do was to show the committee that at the time that this report was submitted, it was at 71%. So we were still working with the agency to submit those invoices. And that's another problem that we do have. We have to continually provide that staff support to agencies, and this is one of them, because they are 100% volunteer-led. Outcome number 1, 25 participants served by the clinic, where they would aim to reach successful disposition of legal matters of 60%, 15 persons would receive successful disposition. The goal was 15. End of the year, their status was 21. So they were 140% accomplishment. And then outcome number 2, they proposed that 3 out of 5 persons who seek expungement clinic services would have received legal assistance through the services and efforts. And the goal was 3. End of the year status, 5 were supported by this, 167% accomplishment. So they really overserved and provided that service. However, they were late in their invoicing. Then we have Armenian Engineers and Scientists of America. This is the AESA STEM Academy program. They proposed to serve 25 individuals. They served 13 at the time of reporting. Funds were awarded at $10,000, and half of that has been expended. Outcome 1, 92% accomplishment. Outcome number 2, 217% accomplishment. With this agency, our staff was having trouble with communicating and getting these quarterly reports submitted, and we're still in the process of waiting for them. We've been back and forth for months with this particular agency, and it's really important, and we've stressed the importance in each email that we send out to all the agencies that these numbers will be reported to the committee. It's imperative that you submit your quarterly reports. I do not have a reason to give to you as to why the numbers are so low or invoices are not submitted. And that might be one of the agencies that should come in and maybe explain, because they are going to be funded this particular year, and we were having a lot of difficulty getting the communication across. Salvation Army, People's... Yes.
Start with the other question in regards to that?
Yes, a question and concern exactly while you were going through the other agencies and not particular one agency or other. I see there is some sort of a back and forth with the staff that you're putting overly babysitting the organizations, basically hand-holding and whatnot, to get them where they need to be with the paperwork, with all the documentations and the invoicing, whatnot, with this agency or any other. I think we should have some sort of, I don't know, procedure maybe, or some sort of a limit to any organization that I think they're abusing the services, and not necessarily, I don't want to say abusing, but maybe it's the knowledge that they don't have, the experience or the knowledge or the staff, whatever it is, that we need to put a stop somewhere, somehow, to help the staff moving forward, if nothing more, and help them out, of course. If they provide all the documents on the right time and the right ways and correct process, then everything else will follow through the same way. So I don't know if the staff has any suggestions in this regard. I would love to hear it, and I would think that something in that factor, amongst with the other couple of items that we spoke earlier, I think we should have some sort of a conversation with these organizations in general, and put an alert in the front of them that, hey, if you don't do what you need to do to get these fundings in the future, you may not be refunded or funded again, in the future processes. I don't know if there is a wording or anything that we can do actually to help the process. Anyways, thank you.
Mr. Committee Member, our additional request is something as a general, not specific to this agency. Shall we finish and then you can address your question, so we can finish because it's not specific to this agency?
Yeah, it's not.
Okay. So, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I have a specific question with regards to the ASA STEM Academy program. So they were funded $10,529. I'm looking at their flyer. It says $250 per month for 16 hours, discounts available. In my thoughts, it's supposedly free for the students, or they're having an option to enroll to pay with charge?
That's a wonderful question, Committee Member Auni. So they have two basic groups. They have the group that is CDBG funded, and then they have the group which pays out of pocket. So that is the image for the group that is paying out of pocket, the family that's paying out of pocket. But the CDBG funded family does not pay.
Okay, yeah.
Remember, this was an issue that we discussed with the agency many times, went back and forth, because remember that was challenging, that if you're paid, how does it work? So, yeah, this was addressed to the agency in details.
Okay.
I think you could look at it as a scholarship type program. So the CDBG portion is essentially like a scholarship type program for those families who can't afford to pay for the $250. That funding goes towards allowing that child whose family can't afford it to be a part of the program. That's essentially how my understanding of the program was supposed to work. That's probably why the flyer has.
Yeah, and that's what I thought too. It's just that you guys are doing such a wonderful job in categorizing and auditing. Obviously, with money comes back, right? But the separation, I'm not sure how they present the report and all that with the total numbers of their students, right? So that's just a reference probably that we can ask to the specific organization later. And you mentioned that they need to be some sort of evaluation on where they're at with the funding.
Correct.
Ms. Kavarian, to speak to the question about the numbers that they're submitting, for example, the 13 individuals who were served, so those are 13 individuals who essentially were not paying, correct? So the numbers that are being reported are not the total number of students in the program, so there might be more than 13, there could be 30, 40, however many are paying. Right. So the only numbers they're reporting to us are the individuals who are essentially not paying to be a part of the program.
And just to inform the committee, we accept applicant information forms. These are forms that are provided by HUD, and that is what they use to provide us with their income, their information, and sometimes the students are siblings, so we know the exact number on the roster as well as the number of families and households that are served.
Let's go.
Okay. Next, we have the Salvation Army. This is the People's Choice Market Program. The proposed number to be served was 200 households. They actually served 203 households. They expended 100% of their funds. Outcome one, they proposed that 200 of their participants, of the 200 of their participants, 160 be extremely low and moderate income households. They have to come from extremely low to moderate. And they were able to serve 203, even though the goal was 160. So 127% accomplishment. Outcome number two, of the 200 participants who are part of this program, 80 were supposed to be elderly, which is 60 years or older. By the end of the year, the status was 155 seniors, and the goal was 80. So you could see how needy this program is. This program is very important. They served 194 accomplishments. So this is an agency that is not coming back this year. They found funding in other funding sources, and they've been really good over the years because sometimes they come to us when they need funding, and sometimes they'll let us know if they don't, which we really, truly appreciate. It frees up funds for other agencies to utilize.
I think there was a time their funding got cut from state, if I'm not mistaken, so they're getting it back.
Correct, correct. And, oopsies. Not moving.
Right there.
Oh, there we go. And last but not least, Homenetman Glendale Ararat. This is Mental Wellness and Athletes Program. They were a first-time applicant of public social services. So this was a very new program that they proposed to do and to serve the public. This was a very ambitious program. They wanted to help alleviate some of the issues that they were having at these sporting events with parents and children, with fights and things like that. And the proposed number to be served was 40 individuals. They actually served 16. They were awarded $10,529. They expended 21%. And I'll give you a bit of an explanation as to why these are the numbers and the outcomes. Of the 40 youth served by the program, 34 were to report satisfaction with mental health support services. By the end of the season surveys, they had a counselor come on to talk to coaches, parents, and children. They got to 38% accomplishment. And outcome number two was supposed to be until June 30th at the end of the fiscal year, where they were going to avert altercations between parents and youth athletes, and they got to 40% accomplishment. This program really tried hard to get off the ground. Unfortunately, the momentum was there, except the parents and mainly the parents and students weren't ready quite yet for this sort of counseling service. And they came to us in spring to let us know that they would no longer require the funding. So it's not that they didn't expend funds. It's not that they didn't communicate. They actually did communicate, and they worked very hard. And Ms. Kabanjian was actually their project manager on this particular program. And they were very forthright with us to let us know that they tried very hard, but they just couldn't get it off the ground. Not quite there yet with families. So.
It's unfortunate sometimes because of the community that we live in. They don't want to expose, and they don't want it to, so it's unfortunate.
Okay. And that closes out my presentation. If you have any other questions.
I have a follow-up one with this specific. So you said this is a new program that they're just trying to launch, right? Or trying to be successful at launch. So with that also, as a committee, do we have guidelines on like project that's just about to launch because it's services, just like when we launch CIP projects, right? So do we have a different format that we have to adopt for new programs, or we just base it general like others?
That's a wonderful question. To be truthful, when they provide us with their proposal, we look at that proposal and we talk to them as staff as to how realistic the proposal is. And we present it to you in strengths and weaknesses analysis. If we feel that it wouldn't be able to kind of come to fruition, we would tell you and we would put that in the weaknesses. And we really felt that this program could be successful. Now, interestingly enough, HUD prefers new programs. They actually like to see new programs take ground. So we do want to encourage new agencies to participate. Sometimes it's great when they already have pre-existing programs not funded by CDBG because they already got a system in place and they can just submit a proposal to us and then we can take a look at that. This was unfortunately not one of them, but we tried. It was a good effort by both the agency and by staff to help them get it off the ground.
I guess to add that, it's depending on the agency too. I mean, if it's a brand new agency that they don't have the experience and they haven't done anything. In this case, Homeland Penarrat is one of the agencies been around there we're familiar with for many years. So it was a subsidiary of their smaller startup. We thought give it the benefit of the doubt, even though I remember that they clearly had a discussion with him that you have to start from the parents, not the kids, but unfortunate. If there's no questions about this, we're going to go with Committee Member Avedisian's request that you brought up earlier. Sure. Go ahead.
Oh. Okay, I forgot now. Okay.
Chair Garibian, Committee Member Avedisian, I think to your point, I think you were essentially saying that, what guidelines and parameters could we establish to ensure that the agencies are speaking to and are able to, and the committee is able to take that into consideration in future years. As I think this is it's essentially the continuation of what I said earlier with CIP, but also with this is we need to have that discussion as part of the RFP process. And we need to establish guidelines that the committee feels comfortable. Staff will bring you with our recommendations of what we think would also help. Ultimately, you would need to give us direction. This item is not an action item, so we can't take direction on it today. Right. But my goal, I think, would be for us to bring back at the next meeting when we bring back the first quarter report for the agencies. A lot of these agencies are also funded for that first quarter. My recommendation would be for us to reach out. Again, I'm not asking for direction because we can't take direction right now. But I think as staff, we would like to invite the agencies that weren't able to meet their goals, regardless of what it was, whether it was 10%, 5%, 30%, 100%, it doesn't matter what their percentage was, is invite those agencies back at first quarter to speak to the current year, to 25-26. Had we had enough time when we prepared these reports, we would have asked them to be present today. Unfortunately, we didn't have enough time to prepare the reports and invite them with enough timing to be present today. So we couldn't do that. But I think going forward, again, we could talk about this as part of the RFP process, but I think going forward, because this is the first time we've experienced this, my recommendation would be for those agencies who weren't able to meet their goals, regardless of whether it's an outcome or a goal in the number of people they served, to be present at the meeting where we present their numbers, to speak to that. And also to submit something in writing when they do their fourth quarter reporting, to speak to the reason why they weren't able to meet those goals. Because then at that point, you will have that information. We as staff will have that information. Unfortunately, I don't think we will be able to get ahead of it for future RFP cycles, for being able to report to you before you make a decision because of the timing of the RFP cycle. We won't have the fourth quarter numbers until after you've awarded. So we'll always be in this type of situation. But I think we could definitely invite them back to speak at the first quarter numbers for the next cycle. And if it's an agency that's already funded, you have that option at that point possibly to consider pulling back the money and awarding it to other agencies. And we'll look into that as part of our next report to bring you back these options. So I think there are some things that we as staff would like to implement, but it's definitely going to require a discussion from the committee, and we'll bring back a report, whether it's part of the RFP process, definitely as part of first quarter. We'll invite the agencies to be present to speak on the reasons. If they're returning the funds, they don't necessarily need to be here. We already know they weren't able to implement the program. They no longer want the funding. But if it's an agency that's already funded for next fiscal year that didn't meet their goals for this fiscal year, I think it's important for us to hear from them because regardless of what it is, it might be a good reason and it might not be, concerning, but I think it's fair for the committee and for us as staff to have that in front of us and have that confidence that they're at least going to be able to meet those goals. And if they're not, are we willing to continue to fund them at the same level to meet lower numbers, right? So I think these are things that we definitely want to talk about. Unfortunately, because it's not an action item, we can't take direction at this point on this. But if you're comfortable with that, we'll definitely have that conversation as part of the next meeting.
If I may add one other thing, I don't think we stress this enough, but it is important for the committee to know. I know we put it down as a bullet point, and you kind of know that we do a monitoring, but it's important for you to understand how seriously we take that monitoring. So in May, we send out letters to all the agencies in public social services, and we monitor them and ourselves. And so what we do is we switch off. So if, for instance, if Ms. Kabanjian is a project manager for Home Minuteman, for instance, I or the other project manager will do the review or the audit, the program monitoring for that agency. So we have a checks and balances system. And with that, we've done corrective action, and we should actually present that to you this year, so you at least get to see corrective action, and they let us know. Of course, that's why we know all these, we have this information because of the corrective action. So we do provide advisory notes to them. If it's a concern, we let them know it's a concern. But if it's a finding, we let them know that it's a finding, and it's something we keep in their files from years past. So we know from the prior year, if they received a finding and they still haven't corrected it, then we kind of reassess and say, hey, where are we on this? Like, why is this still happening? So this is an important thing for the committee to know, that we take this very seriously. And that's really why they've been really great all these years. So yeah, absolutely.
And thank, yes.
A general question. I have a general question. Thank you. And I don't remember, maybe because we haven't had a lot of public social service funds returned, but does HUD just swipe? Do they do a sweep? What happens to that money?
So that money, committee member Quinones Gabrielian, that money basically goes into undesignated fund balance. And we leave that in that program year as undesignated fund balance, just like we would leave program administration, what we receive as funding for staffing support. So any money that's left over stays in that program year as undesignated fund balance, and then we come back to you and we let you know that we have these funds available and we have to reprogram to CIP.
Okay, so that's another, that is an action item.
You will see that in not this report, but the following report.
Okay,
Actually,
yes,
it's 3
that's right.
reports from now.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
If I may, just quickly, I just appreciate the understanding, and yes, I would really love to hear back from all these organizations and see where the problem holds. I know this is nothing that it was just happened this year. This issue of not meeting with their goals, or it's been going on for a while, and also same thing. Not just particular one organization, it's just throughout, I think, CIB, our committee, my brain stopped, sorry. CDBG, generally, this happens that organizations don't meet, their goals or stuff. So I think it would be a great start to basically turn on a light to these organizations, telling them, okay, we're going to be looking a little bit further in. We want to make sure that what you come out and ask, you actually physically can do the job. You can provide that services. You can finish up the construction, whatever the project may be. So I think, and also understanding the communication back and forth, that you're taking so much of staff time where the staff can help out somebody else that is actually in need, and working through the correction. We had the same issue with some past years, I think, and I've mentioned that multiple times, especially the experienced organizations that they've been receiving funding from us for many years, but they come back every year with a very similar mistakes, things that should have been done correctly, but they should know already the process, but they're still doing the same thing. So I would think that that would be great if we can get that.
Well, I'm sure it happens here. What was it, Glendale Youth Center? I think it was like $46,000 they got, and they returned it because the project didn't even start up. But that was
Right.
during COVID days and all that.
Yeah,
But-
but generally, I think.
all right, thank you. What's next?
At 4, we have action items. 4A is selection of CDBG Advisory Committee officers. At 1, we have selection of chair for the term of August 2026 through August 2027. So the business before the CDBG Advisory Committee is the selection of a new chair. Chair Garibian, if you want to turn the meeting over to me, I'll handle the chair selection, and then I'll turn it back to the new chair to
Hereby turn the
continue.
meeting to you.
Thank you. I will now entertain nominations for that office.
I nominate Ms. Marina Manukian to be chair, our next chair of the CDBG.
I second.
We don't need a second, but if I have,
But anyways.
are there any other nominations for chair?
No, let's just close.
Seeing that there are none, I will take roll call. Committee Member Avedisian?
Yes.
And I'm sorry, I'm taking roll call for selecting Committee Member Manukian as chair. Committee Member Avedisian?
Yes.
Ani?
Yes.
Arabian?
Yes.
Quinones Gabrielian?
Yes.
Committee Member Manukian?
Abstain?
You can work for yourself.
Hard yes.
Vote for yourself.
Yes.
For
Okay,
yourself.
so abstain. I now declare Committee Member Manukian as the duly elected chair of the CDBG Advisory Committee. Madam Chair, the task before you now is to open the floor for nominations for vice chair.
Any nominations for vice chair?
I would like to nominate our newest member, Ms. Leah Ani, if she feels confident enough. I think she'll be seeing your leadership and has a good mentor, and will be ready by then.
I'm honored, and you guys are amazing mentors. So let's just say, I'd be honest with that. I think this has been a wonderful year, so I'm honored. Yeah.
Any other nomination?
No.
No, is there a
No.
second? Oh, no need for a
No other
second. Okay.
nomination.
You don't need a second for that, right?
No. Unless there's other nominations, I will tell, I can take roll.
Roll call.
Committee, I'm taking roll call for Committee Member Ani being nominated as vice chair. Committee Member Avedisian?
Yes.
Ani?
Abstain?
Arabian?
Yes.
Quinones Gabrielian?
Yes.
Chair Manukian?
Yes.
I now declare Committee Member Ani the duly elected Vice Chair of the CDBG Advisory Committee. If we want to take a minute to switch seats? Okay, thank you.
Stay here.
No, you should sit here. Well, I don't know. I've never, is it, I think it's best if she sits next to the chair, right?
Being nice to our chair. Full service.
Thank you. Oh, we ended up with all the females on one side and all the males on the other.
What is this? I object.
Congratulations. Congratulations.
Congratulations to both of you.
Thank you.
Chair Manukian, members of the advisory committee, in about a minute or two, we're going to be taking an official photo. So just, we're changing it up. We're changing it up.
Thank you. Do I have my cowlick up there? Oh, wait.
Oh, sorry. Hold on, let me put my clone on first.
So thank you very much. I'll take just 1 second to express my gratitude to the advisory board members. I'm honored to take this role, and I do want to extend my appreciation and gratitude to advisory board member Garibian, serving 2 terms, and sharing his wisdom, experience, knowledge, and leadership. So we're very grateful. Thank you.
Thank you.
On to the next action item.
At 4B, we have program planning scheduled for the fiscal year 27-28 CDBG, ESG, and Home Annual Action Plan. At 1, we have a motion to approve the program planning schedule for the fiscal year 27-28 CDBG, ESG, and Home Annual Action Plan.
Chair Manukian, members of the advisory committee, although we do this every year, I don't think staff is ever really prepared that we've come full circle with a whole year, and now here we are again, talking about 27-28. I'm going to go ahead and get started with, oopsies. This is not working. Oh, are you doing it? Okay. You want to move it? Oh, can I? So I'm going to go ahead and get started with the program planning for this year, just to give the committee members a little insight on what we have planned for August and September. So we kick off the new year really in fall, where we conduct data analysis of census, American Community Survey, and then the City of Glendale Community Survey that we had recently when we did our consolidated plan. And then we also have preparation and announcements of upcoming community meetings and for the agencies and for residents. Of course, today we met. We're going to review and approve this, hopefully. And in September, we're going to have a CDBG open house on September 16th, where we invite agencies to come learn about CDBG. And that is via Teams at 10:30 in the morning. And then various community outreach efforts are made throughout the city of Glendale. And then on September 30th, what we have is an in-person community meeting for the public to let us know what their program priorities are and what they care about in the upcoming year and how they want to see funds expended via CDBG, ESG, and the home program. On October, oopsies, here we go again. Okay. On October 26th, we will be reconvening here for another CDBG Advisory Committee meeting. This is again on a Monday, where we will approve program priorities, the proposed funding allocation plan. We'll review and approve the 27-28 RFP instructions and online application for public social services and capital improvement projects. And as we stated earlier, and Ms. Alexanian had noted, this is really where the discussion will be with RFP instructions and how you would like to see this year, how you'd like to see agencies best prepare for proposals and what your expectations are as a committee. In November, City Council Housing Authority meeting is tentatively scheduled for Tuesday, November 17th. They'll get a draft version of the 27-28 program priorities funding allocation plan, and they'll authorize the issuance of the RFP itself. We hope to publish this on the next day, which is November 18th, and the notice will go out to all the nonprofits in the area. December and January is where it gets busy for staff. In December, we'll have our technical assistance workshop. This is for prospective applicants applying for funding. This is going to be held on Monday, December 7th, 2026. This is always an in-person meeting. They have to come in person. They have to sign because we give them a link to Zoom grants after they sit through that presentation and understand all the requirements, and if there's any updates, which there potentially may be. In January of 2027, on January 8th, that's the deadline for agencies to submit their funding proposals into Zoom grants. That's an important date for them. And then staff starts reviewing and doing an analysis of the funding proposals. The strengths and weaknesses analysis is emailed to community agencies at this time, and then they provide a response to those strengths and weaknesses analysis in January. In February is where the hard work is done by the committee itself. So this is the month that we provide the Zoom grants linked to the committee members to review those proposals online, and this is when staff meets with you. We also work with our community development department to begin a CEQA environmental review of those projects. And as a note, this particular coming year, February 24th and February 25th are the set days for the meeting. We usually meet on Fridays all day, but now that the city has changed its policy on Fridays because the campus is closed on Fridays to the public, we will not be having in-person meeting on that day. So we have moved that to an all-day Wednesday meeting. So please take note of that for those returning committee members who are used to a Friday all-day meeting. It will be on a Wednesday. It'll be most likely 8 o'clock to 5 o'clock, depending on the number of proposals received. Tentatively scheduled is the next day for potentially for CIP if we get a lot of proposals in CIP. So please put those on your calendar. We will also be sending that out to you. In March 1st, we published the list of the projects that the committee has recommended, and that is published in the newspaper. In April, we have a public meeting, and what we do is we present your committee recommendations to the public, and the public also provides their input and comment period. And this will also be done at the Adult Recreation Center on April 7th. May 11th is our tentatively scheduled City Council Housing Authority meeting to approve the final funding recommendations for the 27-28 CDBG, ESG, and Home Action Plan. We'll publish a 30-day comment period for that action plan. And then this is the part that we had kind of discussed, and it's always a bullet point, but it is important. Staff around May, that's when we conduct our program and financial monitoring of CDBG-funded agencies to review the current year, which is going to be 26, 27 projects. So this is when we do our analysis and our monitoring. June, we submit the 27-28 action plan to HUD. And July, it all starts again, and we begin implementation of the programs, the contracts begin, and that's how we end the year, or begin the year, wherever you are on the slide. Any questions on this?
8 years I waited for Fridays not to be on Fridays. Now you change it to.
Committee member Garibian, I really thought of you when I did, when I had to reschedule.
Thank you.
Can I get a motion for,
I'll make the motion to approve the calendar.
I second.
You want me to read the motion?
I'm sorry, who seconded?
I second.
Doesn't need to read it.
Committee members Garibian,
Yes.
Avedisian,
Yes.
Quinones Gabrielian,
Yes.
Vice Chair Ani,
Yes.
Chair Manukian.
yes. What's the next item, agenda item?
At C, we have reprogramming $831,613.45 from program years 2021, 2022, 2024, 2025 to 1000 South Central Avenue project and Cerritos Park renovation project. At 1, we have a motion to reprogram $201,385.45 from undesignated fund balance from program years 2021, 2022, 2024, and $630,288 from the YWCA Lexington Office Historic Building Preservation and Rehab Project from program year 2025 to new City Capital Improvement Project 1000 South Central Avenue project for $501,613.45 and Cerritos Park renovation project for $330,000. Apologize for the length.
Chair Manukian, members of the advisory committee, we have a very short presentation for you explaining the reprogramming of funds or the request to reprogram funds by the committee. Let me give you a little background for reprogramming. We are requesting to appropriate the $831,613.45 in CDBG funds, which are partially in undesignated fund balance and mainly in our YWCA of Glendale and Pasadena Lexington project, the CIP project. So about $200,000 is sitting in undesignated fund balance, and a lump sum of $630,000 is being returned by the YWCA. We have a reprogramming breakdown for you so you get to see really where each project is in program year. That $201,000 is spread out between 2021, 2022, and 2024. These are various projects, closures, remaining funds that were sitting in the books. So we have about $201,000 there, and then the $630 comes from 25-26 program year, which is the YWCA, totaling the $831,000. We are proposing to reprogram these funds to 2 city capital improvement projects, and this is as follows. $501,000 to the 1000 South Central Avenue project, better known as Joann's at this time, the Joann's building. And then $330,000 to Cerritos Park renovation project. Both of these projects, we are anticipating using these funds for master planning for both. So this would be master planning, not construction. So there are 3 key considerations for requesting the reprogramming of these funds by the committee. Number 1 is always discussed each year, which is CDBG timeliness requirement that we had a healthy discussion on earlier. Number 2 is a 7-year period of performance expenditure requirement by the U.S. Treasury. And the last key consideration is the 27-28 CIP funding for community agencies. And I'm going to get into each consideration for the committee. So consideration 1, the reasoning behind wanting to reprogram into these 2 city CIP projects, timeliness. As we discussed, we have to be timely as a grantee of HUD funds. We have to have no more than 1.5 times the annual CDBG allocation in our line of credit. Failure to meet this requirement means that we can get reductions in our future allocations, which we don't want. And we were found untimely 3 consecutive years, 23, 24, and 25. And that was because of slower than anticipated expenditure of funds. Again, CIP, we discussed all of that earlier today. And what we did was we submitted a timeliness schedule to HUD. And honestly, the committee took some proactive measures to improve this situation that we were in. And believe it or not, we were timely in 2026 for the first time in years. So kudos to you. We were able to finally move forward from that time frame of being untimely and submitting that timeliness schedule and really being called by HUD constantly to improve. So that really, it says a lot about the policy changes that this committee made. Now, the recommendation is to reprogram these available funds to city CIP projects because they're beginning master planning phase. And master planning phase is going to be started pretty quickly And unlike construction, it's pretty easy to move forward and navigate that, and we can draw down funds fast. Again, we want to continue to remain healthy in this. So acceleration of CDBG expenditures, reduce the line of credit balance. Right now, we're at we're between 1.38 and 1.4. So we're really in a good spot, and we want to stay there. We do not want to go back to anything above 1.5 times our allocation. So that's one of the main considerations. The second consideration is there's a 7-year expenditure requirement. So there's a period of performance that you have with this funding. So each program year, you have 7 years to draw down all the funds. And to fully draw these down, now we are at risk in 2028, and believe it or not, we look really quickly to 2028 because we know how quickly it comes. We don't just sit there and go, oh, that's 2028. No, it's going to be coming, or it's around the corner. And with CIP, we know how long projects take, even city projects, as well as obviously community projects. So right now we have about $96,000 sitting and could be potentially at risk for recapture. So we want to reprogram that immediately to the 1000 South Central project, because that's going to begin master planning very soon. Approval of this recommendation is obviously going to safeguard $95,000 of funds that would basically just be taken away from us. Last consideration, and I hope this is the one that really impacts the committee's decision, because it does impact you when we see you each year struggling in February to try and fund everyone. So the motive for this is we're going to move these unspent and return funds into city capital improvement projects, and that's going to leave the entirety of the new RFP amount, or the estimated amount for CIP, that will go towards community agencies. So $1.1 million is estimated to be received in 27-28. And this is going to provide you with much more flexibility to assign those funds to new agencies that come in for capital improvement. So we're hoping that you find, substantial, impactful community projects in the next RFP period. That ends my presentation. If you have any questions for me or Mr. Bulanikian about master planning, we'd be more than happy to answer.
Commissioner Avedisian?
Thank you. Thank you for the report. As always, a lot of information all in one time. It's great. Question for the master plan we were talking about. It's not a city master plan. It's the master plan of the CDBG funding that we're going to allocate, or it's the master plan for the project itself.
Commissioner, Committee Member Avedisian, is the master planning for the entire project, the construction project for Joanne's. So what we usually do for large projects like the Joanne's, 1000 South Central, we're going to have a number of community engagement sessions. We're going to talk to the community, see what the community wants. First, we're going to hire a consultant, right? So we're going to hire a design consultant, a consultant that has experience in community engagement. And then when we take 3 or 4 copy of the master plan to the council will approve one of the master plans. Then we'll work with the design consultant on design development and construction documents. All this will probably take 18 to 24 months. So we currently have $500,000 in CIP funds for the master plan, $500,000 in Measure A funds appropriated. So this $500,000 will move us up to about $1.5 million. We also received a $6 million grant through Federal Park Service for the construction of any facility that the community would like to see built on that property.
I see. Thank you. Thank you. That's
Commissioner Garibian?
I'm going to take it one step back, the YWCA funds. Before we get into what to allocate it, what happened? I mean, I have the letter, but I really wanted to go on record.
Chair Manukian, members of the advisory committee, committee member Garibian, that's a great question. So the YWCA is moving forward with their project, just so the committee knows. The problem is they have multiple funding sources, and they have HUD funds from a different source, as well as other funds. And they were struggling up until the very end to figure out how to make all these funding sources work, because each funding source has criteria that needs to be met. And believe it or not, the CDBG funds are the most restrictive of all the other funding sources. They figured that if they focus on the other funding sources and the other criteria, they provide the construction that is needed now for certain areas of that building, they will return to us. They are going to return to the committee and ask for additional funds. But at this time, when our funds, which is the CDBG funds, are tied to those funds, it changes the whole numbers game for them. And so that was where their dilemma was. And they went to their board, and their board decided to give back the money for now and come back and request funds and have a smaller proposal based on what needs to be done after all these other funds are expended.
So having said that, their letter, I don't know if we need to ask them to rephrase it or rewrite the letter, because the way I translate this, we're in fault. I mean, it says clearly, we cannot continue with our project due to increase in costs CDBG requirements bring to the project. They will raise our cost for them? I mean, that's what their letter says.
May I clarify? I'd like to clarify. Original scope of work for this project did not include ADA requirements, and so the agency's architect did submit drawings to the permitting department. And because it's a public facility, they need to meet ADA requirements. It was not specified in their scope of work per CDBG's contract, and that's the reason why they needed to either cancel the project and come back later, where they do indicate the ADA requirements as part of the scope of work, or they needed to leverage. However, per the city permitting requirements and their architects, they could not divide the projects into phases. So we ran into sort of organizing the fundings as well as the scope of work itself. And so their best decision was to cancel at this time, go back to the permitting department, re-prep their drawings, resubmit it, get the drawings in place, and then come back hopefully maybe this year to resubmit with the ADA requirements as part of a CDBG scope of work.
Isn't the ADA requirements a city requirement period, whether CDBG or not?
There's a percentage. If you are renovating, I believe more than 25% of the of an existing building, you need to meet ADA requirements if your doors are open to the public. And depending on how many restrooms you have in the facility, that provides ADA requirements. And if it's not updated to, so it becomes very critical condition. And this is where we ran into where the building does not meet the ADA requirements.
If I'm not mistaken, about 7 years ago, we actually funded them the ADA ramp. Didn't we do that, right? No,
Correct.
it was like 6-7 years ago, we even give them the ADA ramp. So, so first I want to clarify the YWCA on the record, why the money is coming back, and as not necessarily our fault that we increased fees. According to the letter, CDBG increased fees, and that's why it's not feasible for them, which I don't think that's true. So that's the first thing. And also, to prevent such issues, luckily, we had no other agencies last year. We pretty much funded all of it, right? Nothing else. But if these funds would have come back, and if we didn't have a city project, and we didn't have anybody else sitting there as agency collecting it, this would have been a major issue. So these are the stuff that we need to prevent. And again, YWCA is one of the agencies that has the experience, even their architect and the engineers who are worked with us many times in the past. I'm surprised such a thing they can just oversee, but how do we protect ourselves for 600,000 doesn't come up the following year, and we're not gonna have Joanne all the time to be able to allocate it there. So these are stuff that I want to make sure we can prevent moving forward. That's where we are.
Go ahead.
Madam Chair. So we have three alternatives before us, right? And I know that you looked at different realities, right? That 3 different realities in trying to come up with them. But alternative 3 does 2
I'm
things.
sorry, committee member Quinones Gabrielian, there are 3 key considerations as to why we should fund the city projects. They're not alternatives. Staff is recommending that they go to the 1000 South Central project and the Cerritos project. So they're just considerations as to why we'd like to fund those 2 projects.
Well, under consideration 3, I see staff recommending reprogramming funds as follows. Okay, I see, you just broke down the amounts into the 1,000. I see, okay. So it's just one alternative that encompasses all, it hits all 3 requirements. Okay, thank you.
So this is something up for motion or just?
Yeah, I have additional inquiry. So from a fiscal perspective, you mentioned we're already in a threshold, the 7-year project, right? And if we don't spend that money, allocate it to a new project, then the CDBG will recapture, or the HUD will recapture that money. So are there any, what do you call this, cost for the administration or the staff if we allocate this money to a new project proposal? For example, these 2 projects we have in South Central and Cerritos Park Innovation. Do we have to anticipate additional administrative cost if we do the master planning?
Administrative costs aside from this or as part of this?
Part of this.
Not on CDBG's end, because we already have a bucket of money that pays for city staff to administer these programs and projects. So no, we don't, not on that end.
Okay, yeah.
The master planning will be done by park planning staff. So I have a park planner and an assistant park planner, and they handle all of our park projects. So
Right.
we'll be using these funds to hire a consultant. The park planners are funded through the general fund, the city's general fund.
So exclusively goes to all the projects proposed.
Yes.
Thank you.
Just to speak to that, because that is a good point. I think Committee Member Ani's essentially asking, do we have staff capacity to take on additional projects on the CDBG side? I think because they are city projects, there is a lot less hand-holding throughout the process. So if we were to consider 2 new community projects, I think there would be more on city staff to manage. Because we would be increasing the caseload essentially, or the project load that would be handled by Ms. Kabanjian or Ms. Kavarian or assistance from other staff. So that is a good point and something we do need to keep in mind for future consideration as we do allocate funds, because we do recommend for the committee to keep that in mind too. We'd rather fund larger projects or less agencies with a higher amount, because the admin load, the cost for staff is also impacted. So like Mr. Bulanikian said, because they are city projects and the project manager is through our park planners, there is less load on Ms. Kabanjian to handhold the agencies if this was an agency project. So thank you for the question, though.
That's good.
So shall we put it, oh, sorry.
I have one last question, I'm hoping. My biggest motivation is for the next program year, for us not to have any city CIP projects, that we can dedicate it all to agency CIP projects. Is there a guarantee, or how do we, because otherwise the 630 we could push for the next program year. So how do we work a guarantee in there?
Well, the proposal is to 100% fund community CIP projects in 27, 28. Are you talking about 28, 29, or are you talking about 27, 28?
Both.
Well, 27, 28, yes, it would be 100% that would be going towards community agency projects.
I think she's essentially looking for how does she guarantee we're not going to come back as staff and ask for some of that funding to be allocated to a city
In
project.
the motion, it doesn't say it that way, so should we modify the motion? Or
I don't think we have final say of that, do we? Do we?
You do, technically, at the end of the day, city council has final say in the final allocation. So we as staff can, I'll let Mr. Bulanikian speak, but we as staff can tell you that we won't bring an item, but this committee can definitely not approve it, even if we bring it, knowing that that was what you had in mind for this. But we can't guarantee that city council might want to do something different if they have, a different, most of the time, city council always asks that it go to the CDBG advisory committee. But unfortunately, that's not something we as staff can guarantee, because at the end of the day, city council could always, approve a
Override us.
different plan than what this committee. But you, as a committee, can definitely guarantee that that happens by your vote at the, when we bring back the proposals. So you can ensure that by not approving it, even if we as staff propose something, we just can't guarantee it because it could always get updated at the council level.
Similar to last program year, we didn't apply for any, or we didn't ask for any funds. I'm highly confident that we won't submit any requests for funds for 27, 28.
Thank you. So then,
But if there's undesignated fund balance similar to what we're experiencing today, then we might come back and ask for funds. But for, our goal is to have the community agencies apply, because there is a need out there, especially now. There is a need out there, so for 27, 28, I'm confident that we won't be submitting anything.
good to hear. So do I have a motion?
Make the motion.
I second.
Just as it's written
You have to
in
read
the
it.
agenda, or
Read it.
just read this
Oh,
one?
you want me to read it? Oh, she's okay with it. I make a motion to reprogram the $831,613.45 from the program years of 2021, 2022, 2024, and 2025 to 1000 South Central Avenue project and to Cerritos Park renovation project.
Do I have a second?
I second.
And then just to clarify, sorry, because that 831,000 is broken further between the two projects. If you want to make your life easier, if you're okay with it as proposed in the report,
As proposed.
if you're making that motion, either I could read it, or I think we got
motion.
direction that it's the same motion. So I can take roll call for that if the
ahead.
second stands. Okay. Committee members Oribian,
Yes.
Avedisian,
Yes.
Quinones Gabrielian,
Yes.
Vice Chair Ani,
Yes.
Chair Manukian.
Yes. I think that's the end. Well, we have committee staff comments.
At 5, we have committee staff comments.
First,
Thank you as ever.
well, yeah, if there's, I thought, staff, well, I want to say first, thank you for 1 year of, thanks to my committee members, allowing me to chair for the previous year. I appreciate everything you guys done and work together to get these numbers to the agencies, as long as they don't return to us. But at the same time, thank you to the staff, which majority of the work you guys do. You're the front line, you deal with these agencies, you see the problems, you clean it up for us and bring it to us, even though I think the hard job is on you guys. But I appreciate everything you guys do and all the hard work you guys put on it. So thank you.
Comment? I'm truly honored to be part of this committee, and the first year, it's an eye-opening for me, and serving Glendale's best organizations and different projects, and it gives me different perspectives of where we're at. And you guys are amazing and doing a wonderful job, the accountability and transparency, and making sure that we're aware of what's the movements, with the organizations that are being funded. And to review all the proposals has been a pleasure. And I congratulate our president, our chair, Madam Chair, thank you and congratulations. It's an honor to work along with you. And I guess I'm looking forward for next funding cycle and see what's in our community. Thank you.
Yes, just a quick thank you and a sincere thank you for the leadership that our chair president, our chair, Ronnie Garibian extended to us. And to staff, as always, thank you. And congratulations to our chair and our incoming chair. I look forward to serving under your leadership. Thank you.
Yes, congratulations for past chair and the new chair, Mrs. Manukian. I know confidently that she'll help us to direct this meeting and all the organizations, what we serve for, what we do, to the right direction and the quick results. Thank you and good luck.
And last word from me, I would like to thank the staff. As always, very professional, very involved, very positive, very encouraging. We appreciate your work. Thank you to my fellow advisory board members, and I guess we're adjourned.